All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sites Investment and Infrastructure Expo gone virtual. My name is Jeremy Bennett. I am Sites Executive Director. And while we love having you all on right now, we wish we were in person at the St. Charles Convention Center. Networking with industry peers, checking out the latest equipment, hearing from our speakers. It's just something that we can't replace. This year, we're going to do our best with our virtual expo. So we hope to be back at the St. Charles Convention Center in 2022. But this week, site staff and program committee, we've developed a great lineup of speakers. And each day this week, we're going to discuss capital improvement programs, forecasts of construction work, and bid opportunities and more. So, we're happy to be here. We're happy to be able to give you this expo, a little bit different, but we're ready to go. So, one, thank you for attending. Pass it along to others if they would like to see some of this information. We'll have it on site's website as well. So first, I'd like to thank our sponsors, our expo sponsors, and our presenting sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is Favorite Cat. You'll see a nice video from them upcoming. Also, I'd like to thank you, our expo sponsors, Advanced Drainage Systems, ASP Enterprises, Bus and Quarries, Central Power Systems and Services, CMW Equipment, Energy Petroleum and Marketing, Fixed Supply Service, KJ Understall Construction, MB West Contracting, Pace Construction Company, Pat Kelly Equipment Company, Purple Wave Auction, Roland Machinery Company, Rush Truck Centers of Missouri, Thomas Industrial Coatings, Traymar Contracting, 2 Alpha Contracting, and United Rentals. So thank you to all of our expo sponsors. It's a big deal. Without you, we couldn't do this. So again, thank you very much. And for our first presentation, you'll be hearing from MoDOT's St. Louis District Engineer, Tom Blair. Welcome, Tom. He's not new to this. This isn't his first rodeo. So welcome, Tom, back to the expo. And then our second presentation will be Ameren, Missouri. Again, Rick Eastman. He's the senior legislative representative from Ameren, and I think this will be his third year here at the expo. So we welcome Rick back. Both organizations have been extremely busy, whether you've been hearing about the snow, road conditions, power outages. So we're very appreciative that they're here with us today to be able to give an update on their capital improvement programs. So during the presentations, if any of our viewers would like to ask a question, there's a chat box on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You can ask a question, or you can email Leah at sitestl.org. And she will filter your question into the box. We hope we can get to everyone's questions by the end of the presentation. If we can't, I apologize. We'll try to get back to you as best we possibly can. So again, thank you for attending our expo. And here is a message from our presenting sponsor, Favorite Cat.
In these challenging, uncertain, uncharted times, you stand strong. No matter the conditions you face, you get the job done. You are the backbone of our communities. You are the hardworking men and women that continue to build. We're honored to call you our customers and our employees. We thank you for the work you've done and the work you continue to do. Together, we'll get through this.
All right. Thank you, Favorite Cat. I'd like to welcome into the live stream Tom Blair. Come on in, Tom. Jump in.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you,
Tom.
Jeremy.
A little bit better situation this week than last week with all the snow. So the weather's looking good this week, and hopefully we're done with all the snow and ice here in Missouri.
That would be great. We have lots of other things we'd rather be working on than fighting winter weather on the roadways.
All right. Well, Tom, we'll go ahead and get right into your presentation. So let's get to it.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy Bennett. And I want to thank Chris Davis, Leah Bellman, Stacy Brockmeyer, the entire site improvement staff that have allowed MoDOT this opportunity to provide a little bit of overview and update from the MoDOT presence, specifically focused in St. Louis. So again, you have that opportunity with the comments feature. So hopefully you guys will get some engagement going on here too. I don't want to be the only one talking. I hope you can see my presentation and that great picture that we were able to capture on I-70 near Lambert Airport. So I want to start off by first giving you a little, reminding you, if you already know, but if you don't, MoDOT is responsible for state highways statewide, but today I'm mainly focused on the St. Louis district. The St. Louis district comprises of the 4 counties and the city of St. Louis, state-owned roads in that. Now, we are the smallest geographical MoDOT district in the entire state, but we do have a third of the Missouri's population. Now, we have 1,600 lane miles, center line miles of Missouri roadway here in the St. Louis region that our team is responsible for. But a center line mile is sort of not the way we like to think of roads here in the St. Louis region, because our roads are pretty wide. So if you think of I-270 in St. Louis, that's about 35 center line miles from the river in North County to the river in South County. But if you look at it from a lane mile, lane by lane by lane, it's at some points 10 lanes wide. So 1 centerline mile would equal 10 lane miles in that example. So when you look at that, I-270 is hundreds of lane miles, not 35 centerline miles. So we have over 6,000 lane miles of roads. And those roads in the St. Louis region are the most heavily traveled roads in the entire state. We are also, although we're geographically the smallest, we have a third of the population. We have 6,000 lane miles. We are also home to a lot of bridges, state-owned bridges. Bridges are a big deal in the St. Louis region, where we have 2 of the largest rivers that converge here. MoDOT has approximately 10% of all of Missouri's 10,000 bridges, so over 1,000 bridges. We have approximately 58 of the bridges that are major, over 1,000 feet long. We have 21 million square feet of Missouri bridges right here in St. Louis. Square footage of bridge deck, 21 million square feet, or about 25% of Missouri's bridge deck. Moving on, a little bit about our team. So our team, we are authorized over 700 employees in the St. Louis region. At this moment in time, as of earlier this month, or January, we had 683 full-time employees. We're always hiring. That's why I tell everybody there's always positions in the St. Louis team that we're trying to fill. And our team is a diverse team. So we have a pretty diverse team. We have 23% right now minorities and 18% female. We seem to be there. I keep trying to get it more, but we haven't gotten much over that over the last few years. On average, we have about a 16% turnover rate. That's, as you all run your companies, that's too high. If you reflect on what your company turnover rate, I would bet you it's probably lower than 16%. So we lose about 100 employees per year, every year. And 2020, even with the pandemic, was no different for our team. I want to tell you a little bit about our operations. So in St. Louis, before I get to projects, because I know everybody wants to talk about projects, I want to focus a little bit on operations. So as you see here, some pictures of the snow and the trash and stuff that we do. Our team, 2/3 of our team is focused on maintaining and operating the system with their own hard work. So if I look back at the last winter, we had 12 events. We used about 27,000 tons of salt. We spent nearly $8 million in the St. Louis region alone, MoDOT did, with winter operations last year. Pothole repairs, about $1.5 million of money that we spent paying our salaries, our trucks, all our costs. And then mowing and litter removal are often a big conversation in the St. Louis region. We spent about $5 million if you look at the mowing that we did, the litter removal that we did, and then also adding in the contracted mowing and litter removal that we do, which, by the way, there's a lot of opportunities for site members out there to bid in the contracted mowing and litter removal. We often only have 2 to 3 bidders. So in that arena. So if you want to get into that, look into it, let me know. So I want to focus on some of these often overlooked operations today. So you can call MoDOT, and I'll give you the number, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And many people do call us, and many of those calls do report in things that we need to know and we need to address immediately. So we call those priority 1 call reports or call to action. So St. Louis leads the entire state. We had 5,500 calls to action in 2020. So that would be such as a down stop sign you see in the picture. We also do our own utility locates. We are part of Dig Right when you call, but we have our own employees that do that, and we completed nearly 21,000 utility locates. So those are the wires and stuff often underground that feed our traffic signals and stuff that we put there. We are responsible for. We do striping, so lots of striping. So you can see some of the quantities of striping there, and then we do sweeping. So nearly $1 million spent last year alone on sweeping our roadways. If I look at our bridges, again, I mentioned we have over 1,100 bridges, 58 large bridges, over 1,000 feet long. I am really proud in this arena at the progress we've made in the last 5 to 10 years. Look at this. We have 96% of our bridges that the state of Missouri owns in the St. Louis region, and many of them are very big bridges that are in fair to good condition. So that's really a great accomplishment. It doesn't happen by itself. We're constantly investing in the bridges. As you can see in the background picture here, this is a Blanchette Bridge when we were doing some of the work, contracted work on that this past year in 2020. Now, we do have our own bridge crew. It's around 30 people, and we're currently about 45% understaffed. And if any of you have your skilled trades people that work for you, you know how difficult it is to find these individuals and then to get them up to the skill that they can do the work. So we're always seeking bridge maintenance workers for MoDOT, it seems like. But even though we're 45% understaffed, our team, MoDOT team, sealed almost 2 million square feet of bridge deck, about 8 to 10% of the bridge deck that we're responsible for in the St. Louis region. And we repaired 12,000 square feet of bridge deck in 2020. Big accomplishments for us. If I move on to our Transportation Management Center, you may have seen it back in the day before COVID when we could all meet places. You may have been there for a meeting, or you may have seen it on TV. We often do our TV interviews outside the Transportation Management Center located at the interchange of 141 and I-64. That Transportation Management Center is open 24 hours a day. We take statewide phone calls all day, but definitely on nights and weekends when the rest of MoDOT statewide largely goes home. Our Transportation Management Center here in St. Louis takes all statewide phone calls nights and weekends. We answered the phone 93,000 times in 2020. Of those calls, about 20,000 of those resulted in calls. We call them call reports, but basically call to action. So that our team had to go out and do something. So reporting a pothole, down stop sign. Now at the Transportation Management Center, when they're working 24/7, they're also managing our work zones. You might say, well, and we had over 3,100. What do? They change the dynamic message signs. They constantly keep our traveler information map, which you can get the app or you can get on our MoDOT.org website, up to date in an effort to keep everyone informed and keep everyone safe in our work zones. They also manage our emergency response or motorist assist. And in 2020, we had 27,000 plus assists where there's some incident occurred and we responded. Our TMC not only interacts with our motorist assist operators, but also with Missouri Highway Patrol, local law enforcement. Sometimes if it gets big enough, Missouri State Emergency Management or Illinois State Emergency Management, if it's a big enough impact. And we have many, many devices from traffic signals to roadside dynamic message signs to pan tilt zoom cameras that our Transportation Management Center operates 24 hours a day. This is just a quick map to show you. I can't do it all myself, so this is one snapshot of a few of our team members. We have these area contacts, area engineers. In North St. Louis County, you have Bethany Williams. In St. Charles County, you have Andy Turek. In Jefferson Franklin County, you have Stephen O'Connor. And in Southwest St. Louis County, we have Ryan Piercy. And then our newest area contact area engineer is Jennifer Wade. She is responsible for MoDOT in St. Louis City. I put them up here and I just let you focus on them for a minute because if you have work going on in that area, if you have any concerns in that area, these are like miniature versions of me. I often refer to these individuals, and I held this job for almost a decade myself years ago. These are almost like secretaries of transportation, especially for those local leaders in those different parts of the area. When the doors close in MoDOT, I'm looking at these individuals to say, how are we doing internally and how are we doing externally within each one of these regions? When I meet many of you, I'll ask you, do you know who's your MoDOT contact? And I'm always interested to see if they're doing their job because they should be your contact if you're focused on one specific area of St. Louis. All right. We produce a citizen's guide for transportation funding in the state of Missouri. It is on our MoDOT.org website. The sixth version, 6 years in a row now. This is the sixth version. We publicized that in late 2020, so you can go there and review that. It really helps everybody understand where the money comes from, where the money goes. I just want to take out a few highlights from that. Again, the entire document's on MoDOT.org. This is the famous graph that shows up every year. What you see here is a horizontal line that shows that in fiscal 2020, there was 2.9, if I round up, $2.9 billion available for transportation in the state of Missouri. Above the line, you see where the money comes from. Below the line, you see where the money is distributed to. So if I look above the line first, and you have the colors. So red is a state proceed, and yellow is a state proceed, and blue is federal fuel tax. So the size, of course, is bigger if it's more money. So in fiscal 2020, there was $1.6 billion in state fuel tax, $1 billion in federal fuel tax, and then we have some bond proceeds where we borrowed money, and then we have some general revenue, $69 million of general revenue, often income tax. And then that money goes out, to, as you see below line, to the cities. You see the amount there of $362 million, to other state agencies, such as paying for the Highway Patrol or Department of Revenue license bureau offices. Our debt payments on some of those bond proceeds. The big bucket there is MoDOT. We have $1.92 billion that was available to us in all those different funding sources. And then multimodal, which is often going to our airports in the state of Missouri, our water ports, and some to our public transit, which takes many forms throughout our various states. Another graphic I like to point to from the Citizens Guide is this one. And this shows that we have the 7th largest state-owned transportation system in the entire country. We are ranked 9th in condition of that system, of that infrastructure. So that's pretty good. We have a large system and we're in pretty good condition, but unfortunately we are 45th nationally in revenue spent per mile. We're near the bottom in revenue. Now let's look at that a little bit deeper. Again, this is just another graphic from the Citizens Guide. The entire Citizens Guide's on MoDOT.org. I encourage you, if you're interested, to look at that. But this shows in the center here, of course, you see Missouri, and you see our fuel tax, our gas tax and diesel tax at 17 cents per gallon. No matter what the price at the pump is, that's what your tax on that is. And you see the fact that we have 33,000 plus miles of state-owned roads. You see all 8 surrounding states around us have a higher fuel tax than we do. I like to really focus, though, with our short time together today on Illinois. They have half the state system at around 16,000 miles of state-owned roads in the state of Illinois. Their fuel tax is over twice as much at 38 cents, almost 39 cents per gallon versus 17 cents. Their diesel tax is now 46 cents versus our 17 cents. So they have significantly more dollars and significantly less miles to take care of. It's just a fact, and I have a lot of great friends that I work with on a regular basis at Illinois DOT. We partner on a lot of projects. It's just a fact that they have access to more revenue than the state of Missouri does for transportation. Again, there's lots of great information in the Citizens Guide. I encourage you to go to that. Let's dive into the projects. I know many of you care a lot about the projects that we're doing out there, and many of you site members are actively competing and working on our projects. So this is a cycle we go through. We're now in January through April, and this is how we plan and ultimately get to those projects. So right now we are in the final process of updating our 5-year road and bridge program. We will submit that to our headquarters, and ultimately that will become open for public comments in May through July. And by the July Missouri Highway Commission meeting, we would hope that they'll approve the 5-year program worth of projects. Again, that 5-year program, that statewide transportation improvements program, is available on our website. So you can see the last version of it, and you'll soon be able to see in May the version that we have all worked on statewide. And again, remember, MoDOT St. Louis gets about a third, traditionally gets around a third of the money that MoDOT has access to. Now you go into July and September, that's the best time for us to really inspect the condition of our assets, our pavement, our bridges and everything. So it gives us a chance to sort of resharpen our facts to see how are we doing at taking care of Missouri's transportation system. And then toward the end of the year, we sort of finalize our difference between how we're doing and our unfunded needs. And so then we create a high priority unfunded needs list. Again, that's also available on our webpage at modot.org. We like to get that in the hands of the Missouri legislators so they can sort of quantify what's not being funded with our current revenue streams. All right, let's get into some of the projects. When I look back at 2020, I think it's notable, and I'm going to have another slide in a moment on this, but the largest project that we have statewide right now is a $246 million contract with Millstone, Weber, and Parsons. Many other contractors are involved, but this is a design build project on I-270 in North St. Louis County. Again, I'll talk more about it in a moment. We had, in totality in 2020, MoDOT had 65 active construction projects that were worth approximately, not counting the 246, were worth approximately $265 million. In design, when I look at this this fiscal 2021 that we're in now, currently we are working on 61 projects in design. Some of them were designed in-house, some were designing through consultant engineers, and those projects total $223 million. In the current STIP that we have, not the one that we'll be hopefully approving in May through July of this year, but the current STIP, we have 140 projects here in the St. Louis district funded at approximately $600 million. All right, so I-270 North, that $246 million project, again, that's the largest project in our entire statewide transportation program right now. It is investing, improving the corridor, replacing aged infrastructure, where we started that project in 2020. The construction work started in calendar year 2020. We're approximately 20% complete, which is where we need to be and expect to be right now. We are in the final stages of completing the final design, because this is a design build. We're designing it as it's being built. And we're also finalizing a lot of really important utility relocations this fall and winter. So we're going to really hit the ground running in 2021 construction season. I did want to highlight here that in 2020, one of my highlights would be that the contractor did complete the Washington Elizabeth Bridge, and it includes a U-turn bridge. So now if you're heading eastbound on I-270, you'll be able to turn and go onto westbound 270 or onto Dunn Road without going through a single traffic signal. So that's a pretty big new feature. Lots of bridge was constructed there to make that happen. But there were many things that they accomplished in 2020, and throughout 2021, you're really going to start seeing the changes. If I move on, another project, if you've gotten out of your virtual office or your office and been around St. Louis, especially in downtown St. Louis, this is a project we've been working on for decades, and we're really thrilled that we have an awarded contract now that we kind of awarded in June of 2020, and we expect completion about a year from now. So what you're looking at here is the yellow project along I-64 around 22nd Street in Jefferson, down by Union Station. The yellow project is MoDOT's project. And the purple project is the City of St. Louis's project. We've been, again, working with the city to make this happen. We are reestablishing the city grid, and we are improving I-64 access. So when we're done here, you will have complete access on I-64 at Jefferson. That's a big deal. We haven't had. It's been, for those of us that live and work in St. Louis, we know our way around, but it's pretty difficult. The only place you can get on and off I-64 is at Kings Highway. So this is closer to downtown proper, where you'll have full access. Now this yellow and purple project is a commitment of the state and the city that ultimately helps secure the federal NGA site further north on Jefferson. Now, also, you might be thinking, well, wait a second. And if you've been down there and you've seen the work our contractor's doing, or the work that the other contractor's doing, which works for the MLS. So within all that purple street grid there is the new MLS stadium and practice facility that's heavily under construction right now also. Again, that wasn't part of the plan that we had worked out. That's just the way it all worked out, and we're all thrilled and excited to see MLS come into St. Louis. All right, we have a project that we're working on, a design build project. Many of you probably need to get in the mix if you're not already. But we have a $62 million project coming up. We expect, this is going to be a design build. We expect to award that project this summer in 2021. We expect that project to be complete by the end of 2023. This is on I-70 in St. Charles County. It is the oldest section of interstate in the entire nation. The project limits are specifically from Cave Springs on the west end all the way to Fairgrounds, which is close to Blanchette Bridge. So from Cave Springs to near Blanchette Bridge. And we are focused on this project to improve the safety and efficiency of the transportation network while supporting local connectivity. Very important project. You can learn more at our MoDOT.org webpage. All right, I can't stop at talking about projects without talking about one of the most expensive things that we're tackling, and one of the most difficult things that our MoDOT team's done, and wasn't even done by our predecessors before all of us that are in the positions now. It is MoDOT's St. Louis American Disability Act, or ADA, transition plan. We started this effort in 2007 by identifying where we were not compliant with ADA guidance. We are currently, in our current program, we have $125 million worth of work over the next, between now and 2027. And this is a list of some of the corridors. This is specifically upgrading our sidewalk and to ADA compliance. Again, this is a large chunk of money, and it is scattered throughout the St. Louis region. We're mostly done in the city of St. Louis with our responsibilities. So a lot of this is in St. Louis County. Lots of opportunities with lots of very important projects. Our teams are working really hard right now to design many of these projects. Some of them are out to bid and will be under construction this year. But again, we need to be done by the end of 2027. So this is a significant effort. Now, I mentioned this whole cycle, we go into what projects aren't funded. So you might think, well, we have a lot going on, and we do. And I'm really thrilled to see how hard our team works and our contractors and consultants work to turn those dollars that we have in the St. Louis region into results, but there are still unfunded needs. So on our current publicized unfunded needs list, that again is on our webpage at MoDOT.org, we have the I-70 Wentzville curve. So out in St. Charles County in Wentzville, there's that Wentzville curve. I probably don't need to say much more. That railroad overpass that you all sort of drive under and you think, oh, this probably isn't meeting today's needs. It's not. It's not funded yet. We have more investment that's needed on I-270 in North St. Louis County. Specifically, I'd like to highlight one of our unfunded needs on 270 North that's not in our current large project is additional lane in each direction between 367 and Riverview. You may or may not notice it if you drive that way, that I-270 in that section in North St. Louis County is only 2 lanes each direction. It cannot handle the traffic volumes. So we need to get that section widened. We also have I-55 corridor improvements from Route Z to 67 in Jefferson County. I don't need to say much. Any of you that drive it know it needs to actually be improved for additional capacity and safety. Then we have the interchange out at I-64 and 70 in St. Charles County. We have a lot of bridge needs there, but that also gives us the opportunity to improve that interchange and make it flow better. We have reoccurring traffic congestion and some safety issues, or numbers that are higher than we'd like to see them out there. Also, I-64 in downtown in the city, we have lots of needs along there, lots of big bridges and stuff, but they always give us an opportunity to improve the system, not just take care of the system. And so specifically I-64 at Grand and Market in the city. And then we have Route 47 in Franklin County is on our unfunded needs list. I want to also focus a little bit as I get close to wrapping up here for you guys. So hopefully if you have comments and everything, you start putting them in there, because I would really love to have some engagement with you. But 2020, I mean, so many of us look back at the pandemic and what has it done good? I mean, what have we learned from it? Well, one of the things that we see that I really want to highlight today is the safety side of this. And so we saw a 12% increase. Over 100 additional people lost their lives on the transportation system, not just state-owned, but all the locally owned too. More than 100 additional people lost their lives on this transportation system in the state of Missouri in 2020. That's shocking. I mean, you can see the trend and you can see all of a sudden that growth. 989 lives lost in 2020. Now, when you dive into the details of that, despite the traffic volumes being significantly low due to the pandemic, we saw an increased number of fatalities. We saw most notable increases in unbuckled and speed-related fatalities. We experienced significant increases in distracted drivers. I mean, it seems like to me, and when I talk to our team members that are out there every day working on the roads, They said we seem to have always had distracted drivers, but now everyone. They say we very seldom see a driver that's really doing a good job of driving. So it's very difficult as we telework and we work through this as humans. But when we're driving, we need to be focused on driving. Now, a positive note, in 2020, we did update our strategic highway safety plan. The Show Me Zero Driving Missouri Toward Safer Roads identifies 4 key areas to help everyone focus on occupant. And number 1 is occupant protection. So that's seatbelts, car seats, and helmets. We have number 2 is distracted driving. Number 3 is speed. And number 4 is impaired driving. So you can learn more at SaveMoLives.com, but there's a lot of really good resources for us as individuals and for you and your team to also become aware of, but also take action on. Again, you can do it individually. It's not just written for policymakers like MoDOT or Missouri legislators. It's written for average human beings also to read the plan. SaveMoLives.com has that plan. All right, if I look a little bit deeper at this challenge of work zone crashes, what I see is 60% of the work zone crashes where somebody runs into our employees. So that happened in the St. Louis region 28 times in 2020. 28 times motorists drove into our protective equipment or a truck-mounted attenuator in the St. Louis region. That's 60% of the entire. I mean, it should never happen. Nobody, I don't believe anyone is waking up in the morning thinking today I'm going to run into that big yellow truck with flashing lights and a big cushion on it. But it happened 28 times in 2020, significantly too many. Another concern I have is the number of work zone crashes. And so in the St. Louis region, we see nearly 50% of all of the work zone crashes that are occurring in the state of Missouri. Way too many for we only have a third of the population. Why are we seeing 50% of work zone crashes? We have a third of the work zones. Why are we seeing 50% of work zone crashes? Another major concern I have. I think I wanted to point out 2 pedestrian fatalities. So we had 52 pedestrian fatalities that occurred in the St. Louis region. That's about 42% of the pedestrian fatalities statewide. We had a record number of pedestrian fatalities in St. Louis, not just on the state transportation system, but on the transportation system in totality in St. Louis and statewide ever in recorded history. And 52 of those 125 pedestrians were killed here in the St. Louis region. Now, you might think these are people walking down, walking on the road or walking on the sidewalk, whatever. They aren't always. You become a pedestrian once you leave your vehicle. So one of the things for you and your team to talk about when you have your safety conversations is to make certain that you understand and when you get out of your vehicle. A lot of these pedestrian fatalities are individuals that might have been involved in a minor fender bender that as soon as that happens, they jump out of their vehicle. Just because that happened to you and the world stopped around you does not mean the world stopped. And so many of you in the construction arena know that, but you might want to keep reminding yourselves, your employees, and maybe your direct family members, don't become a pedestrian when everybody else is not a pedestrian. So stay in your vehicle and make sure that it's safe for you to get out. Transportation is a priority and a concern throughout the St. Louis district. So I wanted to also ask you one thing. I wanted to ask you, if you would, you can pull out right now your phone, or you can get on the internet and you can go to MoDOT.org, and there's a webpage here, or you can just go MoDOT.org. You can take the Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge. What does that mean when you get onto that Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge? It just asks you your name and email. We're not collecting any money or anything, but it's your individual pledge. Or you can have your business take that pledge. There's opportunity for businesses. Many of site member businesses could take the Buckle Up Phone Down pledge. Or you could challenge your friend or family member or colleague to take a pledge. That pledge is just your commitment that you are going to put a buckle up every trip, and that you're going to put the phone down if you're the driver. That's what you can do. Take that pledge, do your part in making transportation safe and trying to save your life and the lives of others. Now, this is my final slide. So I have Before I take on questions and everything, I do want to say this is our MoDOT.org webpage. You can go to St. Louis, find out all sorts of great stuff about our projects and operations. You can go to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter feeds, YouTube feeds. And then this is the number I'd tell you, program in your phone, 314-275-1500. That is our number that we answer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the St. Louis Transportation Management Center. They can get you information on traffic. They can take your report on a down stop sign or whatever you see out there. So I would greatly appreciate if you all take the time, put that in your phone right now, call it whenever you have a question or something that we need to take action on. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Jeremy, and we can take some questions.
Awesome. Okay, Tom, thank you very much. And if no one has a MoDOT map app downloaded on their phones, especially with the recent snows, that's a great tool to use to see, one, what are road conditions like, and two, what does it look like in real time? Because you can tap into those cameras. So that's an awesome tool to use. It's MoDOT Traveler Information Map. So let's talk about a couple questions. There's one question that came in, Tom. It says, last March, MoDOT put $360 million in projects on hold as motor fuel tax were expected to be down as much as 30 to 40%. In July, those projects on hold began to gradually be released for bid. Where's the department in terms of catching up on those projects?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think another thing, I tried to talk you through that planning process. And so we developed that 5-year program, and we do that this time of year. We turn it in, and then ultimately the Highway Commission, public comment in May, and the commission usually takes action by July. That, because of the timing of the pandemic, that process, the commission stopped that process. So we did not create a new 5-year program or update the 5-year program. So that's partially why some of those projects stopped. When you talk about why, and then why did the commission do that? Because many of us are looking at the health impacts, right, of the pandemic, but also financial impacts. And early on last March, our commission and our director McKenna projected that we would see a 30% decline in our traditional transportation revenue, which is fuel tax. And so far we've been in that ballpark of that. So where do we stand on that now? We are putting all of that work back in, and then we're updating that STIP 5-year program. We expect to include all that money in there. So I would expect those $360 million of projects that were put on hold will be incorporated into the new STIP that everyone sees. It depends on if you're talking about which project of those projects, but they should all be back in there, and I hope that the commission approves them in July. Perfect. I think it goes into your shared work question. So if you want to ask that one next, I can sort of layer that into it.
Go ahead and show this one. Can you talk about the shared work program that MoDOT implemented last summer and the sacrifice that MoDOT employees made and the money it saved MoDOT?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good information on our webpage about how we have managed through COVID, how it's impacted our projects and our people, the sacrifice of our people. But again, in March of 2020, when this started, we quickly started restricting our purchasing, everything we can control. Our goal was to try to reduce our expenditures by 30%. That was our goal almost immediately. How do we do that? When some of that CARES Act money came out for unemployment benefits, we took advantage of that. So we created what we called the shared work program. So many of our employees opted into that shared work program, which meant that they reduced their work by 20% and they received unemployment benefits for a 12-week period. Other employees, like myself, we just took a salary decrease and continued to work 40 plus hours a week. But all of our employees made a sacrifice in their financial impacts and everything. But when you total that together with our other decisions of delaying projects and reducing our expenditures everywhere we possibly could, we were able to withstand that. So it is with great pride that the entire team looks back at that fiscal year, the last fiscal year, and we were able to balance our books, right? So we did not have to carry debt over into the next fiscal year. That's a great thing. And now we're positioned to really do more than pay back, and make up the money that we didn't have last year. And where we stand right now is with the new COVID relief that was passed under President Trump in the previous Congress. Many of us saw it and heard about it as the most recent $600 payment. That includes $10 billion for DOTs. That's a first direct COVID stimulus going to departments of transportation. And Missouri is getting approximately $236 million of that $10 billion. We're going to put that to great use. So we're positioned very well to incorporate that into our upcoming project list, and we expect to have a larger project list as a result of that COVID relief money.
All right, thank you. Another question came in from Jeff Poulin. Is the Route 67 elevation project coming this spring?
Route 67 elevation project. Oh, you're talking probably in North St. Louis County, St. Charles County. That is this calendar year. I don't remember. I don't know if it's spring. I was thinking it was more of a summer bid. I don't think they're scheduled to, if I remember scheduling that one right, I think that it would maybe start this fall or next year. So I think you're talking about the Route 67 on your way to Alton, where it floods often.
Okay. All right. And I don't see any other questions in the queue, so, which you're hitting your time perfectly there, Tom. So thank you very much. And just to let all of our viewers know and site members know that site's working on a transportation funding bill. There's a lot moving in the Senate and the House. Chris Davis, our government affairs director, he's working on that diligently. There's actually a stakeholders meeting this evening in Jeff City that we'll be present at. And just pay attention to the newsletters, all the notices coming out from site on what you can do to help push that bill across the finish line and give MoDOT the much needed funding that they need. Because while they're good stewards of money, their money and the taxpayers' money, this is very, very much needed to, one, rebuild our roads and bridges, but two, maintain the office personnel and staff that you have and the equipment that you guys will need as well. So, Tom.
Yeah, I thank you very much, Jeremy, and everyone. Thank you for the time today. I hope I provided some value to you. And I really appreciate the ongoing partnerships with so many of the site members and your agencies. Really, you guys are essential in helping MoDOT accomplish our mission of taking care of and operating in Missouri's transportation system. So have a great expo, and thank you for the invitation today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. And up next, we'll have Rick Eastman from Ameren, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll jump into Ameren's power grid. Important topic right now. Thank you very much. All right, and welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We can't really talk about investment infrastructure without talking about Ameren. I mean, Ameren's got a lot of projects that they put out to a lot of site members, and so we are excited to have Rick Eastman back in the stream. Rick, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Honored to be here. Thank you for inviting us again.
Yeah, this is I'm sure Ameren has been busy here lately. I know with all the rolling blackouts in the South and whatnot. We don't have that here in Missouri that we're aware of, because here in St. Louis, it's been power on the whole time. So thank you to those at Ameren, and you can kind of touch upon that a little bit just because it's very apropos right now.
Sure. We're very thankful that we had both the electricity supply and natural gas supply, because we serve natural gas where I live here in Jeff City in central Missouri, and down in Cape Girardeau and other parts of central Missouri as well with natural gas service. So supplies were not quite as large a margin that we normally have, but we were able to keep everything running. We did have some small electric customer outage down around Lake of the Ozarks, but got that repaired pretty quickly. So, yeah, very thankful. Our power plants kept running. Natural gas kept flowing, Jeremy.
Awesome. Well, Rick, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much. And I do want to thank you and Leah and Stacy and the Site Improvement Association team. You guys have been awesome to include us 3 times over the last few years. And as you know, this worked great in rehearsal. Let's see if I can certainly get these slides up. We do want to talk about our smart energy plan. That's the primary thing. I see it full screen. I am hoping, Jeremy, if you could at least give me a verbal cue that it's showing,
Yeah.
we will move forward.
Looking good, Rick. We're good to go.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, folks, thank you again for this opportunity. Part of the reason I seriously believe we were able to keep things going so well in terms of our energy grid over the last week or 10 days during this extreme cold and severe winter weather was because we have made major investments in our smart energy grid plan for the last 2 years. As most of you guys will recall from our last presentation, the smart energy plan was enabled by passage of Senate Bill 564 in the 2018 legislative session. So when we last spoke with you guys in 2019, the bill had just become law in August of 2018, and we began to move forward with some of the projects in 2019. So now we have 2 years runtime. We've invested in the grid, and you can see on the right side of this slide just the 2020 Smart Energy Plan accomplishments. And so 38% of all the capital invested was in grid modernization. $2 million in solar rebates were paid. That was part of that bill. Customers were asking, if I put solar panels on my home or business, can I qualify for some rebate money? And yes, they were able to. We completed more than 600 projects really in just 2020 alone. And our upgrades helped reduce power outages and the length of time that we had for those by up to 40%. So that goes back to Jeremy's point. We're able to keep the lights on. And a lot of that, again, is because of these smart energy grid investments. The economic impact from these investments, we have really supported about 400 jobs throughout the state. And 57% of our suppliers are Missouri-based. We'll talk more about that later in the presentation. And $225 million of the investment, 32% of that sourceable spend has been with diverse suppliers. So as you can see on the left part of the slide, guys, $8.4 billion with a B is what we're planning for electric investments from this year through 2025, assuming that the Missouri Public Service Commission renews the Smart Energy Plan for a second 5-year window. If you will recall, the 2018 bill that passed was approved for a 5-year plan. So 2019 through 2023 was the plan that was in place. The PSC can renew that plan for a second 5-year window without the bill having to go back before the Missouri legislative body. So that's the plan for the next 5 years, is to keep investing in the grid, showing great benefits to our customers, improving reliability, also keeping downward pressure on customers' electric rates, and encouraging more renewable energy by investing in wind and solar, which we'll talk about more in the presentation going forward as well. We just want to mention too that part of this plan was to, again, keep downward pressure on electric rates for customers, both, or really I should say all three, residential, commercial, and industrial customers. And we did have a 6% rate cut to all of our electric customers in August of 2018. That was a part of the bill. And another 1.5% rate cut in April of 2020. So like so many of your businesses, we focus on our customers. The customers are the heart and soul of everything we do. If we had no customers, it would be not a reason to have a business, as you guys know. So it's customer centric. We do all of what we do to serve our customers. And again, we're focused on not only keeping a safe, secure, reliable, and resilient grid, but to bring more renewable energy into the mix, to be conscious of our carbon footprint and to reduce that going forward over time, and certainly to provide financial stewardship on behalf of all stakeholders, including our shareholders. We talked about this 2 years ago with you guys, where the grid of today has typically been one way. You know, since most of our coal power plants were built, and even the Callaway nuclear energy plant, where I spent about half of my Ameren career, they were baseload plants, large plants that were generating facilities with transmission lines that distributed that to our homes and businesses around the state, and certainly transmission and substations stepped the voltage down through distribution lines to our homes and businesses. But it's really been a one-way flow of energy, really for the last 40 to 50 years primarily, and really since the company's inception, more than 100 years ago. Our customers are telling us, though, they want more energy choice. They would like to have opportunities, as I mentioned a moment ago, to put solar panels on their homes and businesses and generate part of their electricity on their own. And also, they're asking for more information. They want two-way flow of information and energy. So if they generate electricity on a solar panel or from a solar panel on their home, they would like to not only discount their bill, but if there's some excess, they could sell that back into the energy grid. So the diagram on the right side of this slide you see talks about those things, about the grid being more two-way. We will certainly have smart meters installed for all of our customers by the end of 2025 as part of our smart energy plan. The smart switches and technology we are installing and the sensors that allow the grid to be more self-healing have already been paying dividends, as we mentioned. And you will see Ameren Missouri over time move away from our 4 large coal plants to more wind and solar and other renewable forms of generation. And certainly Callaway will stay in the mix. That's our large baseload plant here near Fulton, Missouri in central Missouri, and it generates 1,200 megawatts of electricity. And it's certainly a carbon-free generating source that we intend to keep going for many, many decades to come. And our customers are also asking for more rate options. They would like to say, could I have different types of rates if I really do incent me to use my appliances off peak hours, to have different, more energy efficient appliances. So I think you will see going forward more unique energy options for customers and more unique rate designs for our customers. So I talked about 2020 successes. Let's look a little bit at 2019. So we have examples. I certainly won't go through all the projects, and guys, because of the nature of the membership of the site, projects primarily. We certainly have done some Missouri in Kirksville and over in Excelsior Springs on the western side of the state, just north of Kansas City, which is Ameren Missouri territory. But we will focus today looking mostly at St. Louis and the eastern half of Missouri projects. So the one you see in the upper right here is the North St. Louis City. It's a substation project that replaced a 70-year-old substation and added a new substation to support the expansion of the National Geospatial Intelligence Center that we talked about, I think Tom mentioned in his presentation, as well as other residents and businesses. So that was a big substation project that was completed in 2019. In West St. Louis County, we did some system hardening and substation upgrades. We upgraded the substation and about 10.5 miles of power lines and installed 200 stronger utility poles to improve reliability to 3 critical facilities, including a level 1 trauma center and children's specialty care center, as well as 10,000 local residents and businesses. And when we talk about hardening the grid, so often it talks about putting new utility poles in. These are made of composite materials, which are much stronger to stand up against high winds, winter storms. If you do have a derecho type wind that came through last year, a straight line wind that maybe would take some power lines down, if every third or fourth or fifth one of the poles are made of composite material, it keeps the whole line intact. And even if an older standard wooden pole would break, you have enough with the composite poles in order to keep those lines standing. So that's a big part of our investment through the Smart Energy Plan. One more project, guys, from Southeast Franklin County. It was a system hardening project. We upgraded 28 utility poles along a 1-mile route on Highway FF in Londell, which will support improved reliability for more than 400 residents and the area school district. So again, another system hardening project that we're just trying to give you a feel for some of these around the metropolitan area that we've implemented over the last year or two. Now, this one may be very hard to read, but I do want to walk you through some of this because this shows the Smart Energy Plan capital investment that we made in 2020, as well as what we plan for the next 5 years. So we've broken down the Smart Energy Plan categories by type, and you can see the investment. So 447 million was in smart, reliable grid operations, the actual spend in 2020. Smart meters, 63 million. Nuclear generation out at Callaway, 71.6 million, and on down the line. So the total capital spend for 2020 by Ameren Missouri was $1.1 billion. When you add the acquisition of the completed wind energy center, the renewable energy center up in Adair and Schuyler counties near Kirksville, and a portion of the one was completed in 2020 in Atchison County, which is extreme northwest Missouri. In fact, I jokingly call that the Omaha Wind Farm. Jeremy will hate that comment. Anyway, Omaha Wind Farm, but that's not really the name of it. It's in Atchison County. When you add those investments in, our total capital spend for 2020 was $1.7 billion, with 38% of that spend going for energy grid modernization. Going forward, again, by category, I certainly won't read all of these to you, but you can see the capital investment by year is around $1.5 billion annually. And we will complete the acquisition of that Northwest Missouri Wind Energy Center in 2021. So by the end of this year, that wind farm will be completely done and online. So they were built by contractor companies, both the Northeast Missouri and Northwest Missouri wind farms for Ameren Missouri. Once they're completed, we take ownership and operate those wind energy centers in both Northeast and Northwest Missouri. So you go across the rows and you can see the investments by type of Smart Energy Plan category. Certainly the largest one is that first row, the smart, reliable grid operations at $3.8 billion for the next 5 years. With the total for the 5 years of 7.9, you add in the other completion of the wind farm from this year, and that puts us at $8.4 billion, again, with 45% of all of that capital spend going toward Smart Energy Plan investment projects over the next 5 years. So kind of lumping some of those categories together so it's maybe a little easier to get your arms around, you can see what the targeted spend for 2021 is in millions of dollars by substations, smart grid, underground cable upgrades, and system hardening. All of those are listed there, and you can see the spend. And then the 5-year spend is also listed for each of those 4 categories. Basically, if you look at the plan and the customer value columns, you can see what the plan is. Substations in particular, guys, many of our substations were very old, so 60 plus years old in some cases. And sometimes that's longer than their intended useful life. But 70 plus new or upgraded substations are being targeted, especially for those ones approaching their end of life over the next 5 or 6 years. The value that provides to our customers, it's state-of-the-art design. It features that self-healing feature with smart switches, newer transformers that are more reliable, all of those things that replace equipment, as you can imagine, that's 50 to 60 years old and has reached the end of its life. The smart meters on the next category, those are smart and automated switches and smart meters. will be involved, 1,200 cutout reclosers, private fiber wireless communication network in St. Louis, and we'll expand that across our service territory to allow all of this smart equipment to talk to itself. That's what helps value or provide value for the customers in the way of having a self-healing grid. So oftentimes in a straight line wind, a snowstorm, ice storm, spring or summer season of storms, if a tree limb falls on a circuit, for instance, a customer or a series of customers would have a power outage. With the self-healing equipment, the grid will automatically sense that and reroute power to another circuit that's not been damaged. So customers oftentimes will not have an outage that they would have had, and they won't even be aware that the lights blinked. They won't have an outage. And if we do have a power outage, typically customers are seeing them much, much shorter than they have historically been. So that's a big part of the smart grid investment. Underground cables, I know people often ask me, why don't you just put everything underground? That would be so much better. It would be perhaps, but it's about 10 times the cost of overhead lines. So to make these capital investments to strengthen the overhead energy grid is really the most affordable way to do it for our customers. So those are some of the categories, guys. System hardening is the last one there. Upgrades to 125 miles of the sub-transmission system via reconductoring and strengthened wood or composite poles that I talked about. We also upgrade some of those cross arms that you see on a power line pole. They're no longer wooden. Many of the new ones are fiberglass cross arms and insulators. So tying investments to customer value. As we said, our customers are the main focus of why we do what we do. We certainly want to keep the lights on and the gas flowing and do it at an affordable energy rate. So these are some examples of investments that have brought customer value. In central Missouri, where I live, Unilever experienced a number of reliability issues over the past 3 years. And in November, we installed a new customer sub, including a smart switch. And in January of 2020, so just over a year ago, that smart switch worked when the company experienced a fault of their equipment or on their equipment. And the customer sent us a note and said that the new smart protection saved their bacon. So that was a quote we felt we could share. We also installed 8 smart switch gears in Jefferson City. They're downtown near our office here. It supports the downtown business district, many state office buildings, certainly the Capitol complex. And that was a great way to harden the grid because everything is underground in downtown Jeff City. So we upgraded those switch gears about a year ago, I think now. And then in St. Louis area, hundreds in St. Louis County, Westminster High School, and large retirement communities saw outages of seconds to hours. So we invested in 3 smart switches there. And that also has helped them improve their service, keep their lights on more. We can do that better for them. And during that windstorm that I mentioned in November 2019, those newly installed smart switches near the community reduced what could have been an outage from hours down to seconds. So it's been a tremendous investment in those areas, and customers are letting us know that it's helped them. In fact, the blue box on this slide says that installation of those smart switches I mentioned have improved reliability up to 40% based on historical performance. So building on momentum, what are some of the things we did in 2020? Again, big projects involving some pretty good size suppliers in our state. We'll talk more about suppliers in a moment. But in Washington, Missouri, there's a company called WEG Transformers, W-E-G, WEG Transformers. They make these large substation transformers in their facilities in Washington, and they installed some in a Madison substation for Ameren, Missouri, and our customers in that community. And that substation was upgraded to provide improved reliability to more than 3,000 residential customers, as well as the hospital in Washington. And it's helped tremendously in that town. In Moberly, about an hour north of Jefferson City, out here in central Missouri along Highway 63, that community, my wife's hometown, by the way, I have to get that plug in. This is among a number of projects that will reduce outages and upgrade the energy grid to support future growth in central Missouri communities. So Moberly is an example of one of those towns. And that project involved installing 7 poles and adds new wire and cables along a 1/4 mile of circuit, which increased capacity and improved system reliability. We did a project in High Ridge, as you can see, reduced frequency and outage duration for more than 2,400 customers. And in St. Louis County, we had quite a bit of media coverage about this, but we put a new 12 kV substation in, providing additional capacity for future growth in St. Louis County. And it also supported the Metro's plan to electrify their bus fleet, which could include up to 400 buses, as well as 5 area industrial companies. So those were projects that we completed in 2020. And that was the Deer Creek substation in St. Louis County that I was just mentioning. One of the things that has also helped, that was a huge part of Senate Bill 564 that we have included in our Smart Energy Plan, is the Economic Development Incentive Rider. And it's helping companies grow and expand. So if you're an existing Ameren, Missouri customer, a commercial or industrial customer that meet the certain load requirements, and you want to expand your company and use more energy, or if you're a brand new company locating to Ameren, Missouri service territory, if you, again, qualify for the certain load amounts, increased new additional electric load, these companies can earn up to an average 40% discount on their base electric rates for that qualifying new and expanding business. So again, if an existing company is expanding or a new company comes in and they meet the load criteria, they can get a 5-year 40% discount on those energy costs for that new electric load. And this incentive is available to businesses looking to move to Missouri, as I mentioned, or to further expand. And it also has helped create jobs in our state. Yes, we've got all those numbers on there. So GM plant in Wentzville, as part of that incentive, they decided they would retain business at the Wentzville plant, and that retained 4,000 jobs per the company's information. Quaker Windows, located out here in central Missouri in Freeburg, decided to expand and have a second facility in Eldon, Missouri, and they took advantage of the economic development incentive, and that added 100 jobs in Eldon. And then up near Kirksville, the Western Smokehouse created 50 jobs when they took part in that economic development incentive. And some other new ones, Swift Foods in Moberly created 200 new jobs. Dollar General created 55 jobs in Berkeley with that distribution center. And Patriot Machine created 150 jobs in St. Charles. So again, if you are part of a business that has Ameren, Missouri as your energy provider, and you're looking to expand or grow that business and add some additional load and equipment, or if you're a site selection person, our Chamber of Commerce, and you know of a company wanting to come to our service territory, get in touch with us, please, and we will share information with you that you can provide to these new incoming customers where they can qualify for 40% discount on their new energy rates. So where are we going next? Well, projects this year, and again, I know, guys, I'm probably getting tight on time. I won't read all these, but Hazelwood, we're going to do some equipment installation there and storm hardening. Ferguson, we've got some projects coming up. Potosi down in southeast Missouri, and St. John out near Lambert International Airport. These are all projects we will make investments that are scheduled currently and budgeted currently for this year, 2021. What lies ahead in 2022? We've got projects already identified and planned for Wildwood, O'Fallon, and the Missouri Technical Applications Center. All of those will be investments in smart energy grid technology, and those are planned. Again, we have a footnote on our slides. Those project costs and execution years are estimates and are subject to change, but as of today's budget and construction timelines, these projects are slated to go. Real quick before I show you a video, guys, I do want to mention this. The Smart Energy program, the Smart Meter program that I've touched on a couple of times. We started that project installing smart meters on homes and businesses in St. Charles in the middle of 2020. And we will upgrade all 1.2 million electric meters by 2024. As I talked about earlier, customers are wanting more two-way communication about their energy usage, their appliances, how they can get that feedback from Ameren based on these smart meters. You can send information back to customers. And so that's a big part of this smart meter project or program. And the suite of expanded rate options that I mentioned earlier too will also give customers the power to choose a rate that fits their lifestyle best. So the smart meter program customer benefits you can see listed on the lower left part of your slide. It really does improve restoration times if we do have power outages. certainly faster connection for new or moved service. That's one thing that customers have asked us about. If they were going to move or sell their home or just turn their electricity off and move out of the area completely, we would normally roll a truck, send a serviceman out to read that meter out, physically boot the meter or remove it so no power could be going to that property. And then maybe a new owner would buy that, say a week or a month or 6 months later and want power restored. Well, we would schedule that trip and roll a truck out, and the serviceman would either unboot the meter or reinstall the meter and read that back in. With smart meters, all of that can be done within about a 10 or 15 minute window. It's pretty much instantaneous. If you were to call in as a customer and say, hey, I'm not going to pay this electric bill right now, I'm moving out of this property, I don't know who's going to move in, or if you have your landlord and you have tenants doing that, we'll just push a button and turn the power off to that meter. If you called us back an hour later and said we need power back on at this address, we could push a button and within about 15 minutes power would be restored to that address. So smart meters are a way to help with faster connection for new or moved service. We've talked about more control for customers with rate options and certainly more precise energy usage data. I just want to give a quick mention. The private wireless network is part of the communication system we're putting in so all of our smart equipment can talk to itself to make all of these features I've been talking about possible. The benefits of all that: lower operating costs will promote affordability, increased visibility for the distribution system, and improved system planning and faster response to outage events, as well as increased cybersecurity. We read more and more about that in the news all the time, about cyber attacks and the fear of taking down power grids. You may have seen in the last couple of weeks, I think it was a water system maybe in Florida that was hacked, and chemicals were added that would have made the water toxic, too toxic to drink. Part of our intention, certainly behind building the smart energy grid, is to harden it not only against physical attacks, either weather or man-made attack of some sort, but certainly increased cybersecurity is a big part of what we're doing. So I've got one more slide, and then I want to show you a video, guys. So we talked about the WEG Transformer Company in Washington, Missouri, and they are building these large substation transformers for us. We featured them in some videos, but really they are building in Missouri by Missourians for Missourians. It's a tremendous thing where we are putting more and more of our work in state to get our vendors and suppliers more business. So I'll show you on my last slide after the video. We'll run through a few others, and I'll show you how you can get involved as a supplier. To date, we have 141 supplier applications, and the online portal I will show you shows you how to sign up and get pre-qualified to be a supplier that can bid on these projects to harden our energy grid. 57% of our suppliers are Missouri-based through this program. And as I mentioned at the early part of the presentation, 32% of our spend is with diverse suppliers, and that's $225 million for year 2020. So with that, I would like to show you guys a video that was produced by the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry about 18 months ago, but it features some of these suppliers that we've been talking about and what a tremendous job they're doing to not only support Ameren Missouri and our customers, but to grow their own businesses.
The Smart Energy Plan, also known as Senate Bill 564, does some remarkable things for businesses and jobs in the state of Missouri.
It's amazing to think that one legislation can create so many new positions.
It's given us the ability to invest more into the Eldon community.
This particular bill has contributed a significant amount of growth to this company.
In terms of total economic impact, we think it's going to create about 3,000 additional jobs, both direct to Ameren Missouri and the majority of them being indirect, such as suppliers, vendors, independent contractors.
We are a service provider. We do engineering services for Ameren. So when the legislation passed, they contacted us and said, hey, we have these new projects to invest in these regions. Would you be able to support us? And of course, we were ecstatic. The past 6 months, we hired probably 4 people. And then we're about 2 more are going to start in 2 weeks. It has so many impacts in so many people's lives.
Ameren had this smart grid installation project, and we were awarded part of it. It was a place that we wanted to work, being a Missouri company. To date, we've hired 12 new employees, and so we're excited about the opportunity that it's going to give our company.
This particular bill has contributed between 21 to 23% of growth that was not foreseen. The impact is major for us, and then it will be subdivided over the different companies with whom we work. Our suppliers.
Another exciting component of the Smart Energy Plan is the Economic Development Incentive. And what that does is it gives companies that want to locate to the state of Missouri or expand in the state of Missouri an opportunity to have a significant discount.
We've been growing at 20 to 25% a year, and we're looking to expand to Eldon. And I think the bill and the positive nature that is going on inside the state of Missouri around business and economic development really played an impact in making it happen for us and being able to expand into Eldon.
All right, that was a pretty good video. We have featured those companies and shared that around the state. I've got just a little bit more information on each of those three companies. So you saw Mr. Simpson talking about BBC Electric. It's in Joplin. It's in extreme southwest Missouri. They're not in Ameren, Missouri's footprint. They are not a customer of ours, but they certainly wanted to get engaged as a supplier and provide equipment and work with Ameren, Missouri to benefit our customers. So you saw some about that. These are examples on the right side of the slide, guys, that show some of the substations and smart switch installations they have done. We talked about WEG transformers again, and excuse me, Washington, Missouri. These are some of their project highlights. That Madison substation in Washington, it's very near their facilities and certainly close to the hospital in Washington, and serves the customers we mentioned to you previously there. So it's been a tremendous project for us. And Philip James is the WEG general manager there, and he wrote a letter to the editor of the Missourian, the Washington Missourian, or I guess just the Missourian. It serves maybe Union, Missouri as well. But they've been very great to work with in keeping these projects coming and helping us meet our on-time scheduled delivery and installation for these projects. And then you saw Luce. She is always energetic and eager to talk about their company's been small, but they have grown. As she mentioned, I think they'd hired 4 people, and now they've hired at least 2, if not 4 more, just in the past 18 months or so. But these are some of the projects that they have worked on regarding our Smart Energy Plan. So kind of wrapping up before I show you the information on how you guys can get pre-qualified as suppliers. Certainly the Smart Energy Plan is designed to transform the energy grid of today into the energy grid of tomorrow and power the quality of life for our customers, our communities, and our coworkers for generations to come. So between improving the reliability of the grid, keeping downward pressure on electric rates, creating jobs and tax benefits for the communities and the counties and the state that we serve, and certainly hardening the grid, as we said, against cyber attacks and natural attacks from weather. It makes it safer for our coworkers as well. When the line workers go out, especially in inclement weather, many of these installations have made their work and what they do safer. We've got rid of older wire with newer wire and cable, and it's safer for them to work on. So I think in just a moment we'll bring up the webpage itself. But guys, I just want to let you know that if you are a contractor or a company, or you're a subcontractor of one of these companies, and you do any of these types of projects, directional boring services, hydro excavation, underground cabling installation, underground duct bank installation, or overhead line electrical installation, those are the types of work that we would love to have you go to our website and complete the form. There's a pre-qualification form, and this will be, I'll be honest, this was a portion of Senate Bill 564 that was passed in 2018. This was really something that the Senate wanted added to that bill, is how can we grow more jobs in Missouri and create more work, not only for the projects you're doing, Ameren, but for the people that will come in and do that work. So if we could go to the full page website, please. I will show you guys that. So this is that webpage. It talks about supplier diversity. You can become a supplier and grow with us if you're not already. And as you go down to the bottom of the page, the blue box I just showed you on the slide is featured there. And there's a little link at the very bottom that says start the form. And if you go through the process, it probably is about 14 or 15 screens with about 50 questions. And it asks everything about your business, from the nature of the work you do, number of employees, your safety record, your annual revenues. It really asks about your company, so we get to know you and know all about your business. Once you get in that hopper and are pre-qualified, as these jobs for smart energy plant projects come up for bid, you're already in the hopper. So it has expedited that. And some of these vendors that we have shown you in this video and we just talked about on the slides really have gotten engaged through this process. And we would strongly encourage you guys to do that too, because over the next 5 or 10 years, we've got so much more work to do to continue hardening our grid and to make it the grid of the future to benefit all of our customers at Ameren, Missouri, and to help grow our state's economy. We've all been through an extremely difficult time. I'm just now back in the Jeff City office. Most of us, in fact, 60%, roughly 60% of Ameren, Missouri's Ameren's 9,300 workers in both Missouri and Illinois have been working from home since last March 16th. Just now, are we slowly starting to come back into the office, and I'm here because it's close to the Capitol. I can go over and do my lobbying work with our legislators. But we certainly want you guys to get engaged, to get some of this work to help grow our energy grid and make it harder and smarter. But also, as the first 5-year window comes up for renewal at the Missouri Public Service Commission, if you wanted to reach out to the Missouri Public Service Commission staff at the appropriate time, I can reach you through our stakeholder advocacy team. This is my last pitch. It's called Power Forward. Hopefully some of you are members of Power Forward. If not, you can certainly go to our website and sign up. You can learn a lot more about smart energy, but go to Power Forward. So all one word, powerforwardmo for Missouri.com, powerforwardmo.com. And I would encourage you to sign up as a member. There's no cost. You'll get newsletters from me once a month that talk about all of these kinds of activities and projects. And we would certainly encourage you, as I said, to get engaged as a supplier. And if the right time comes and we feel it's appropriate for our Power Forward members to reach out to the Public Service Commission, we could put out a call to action, maybe have you guys send a letter to the Public Service Commission staff or to a legislator or whomever to help us renew this plan for a second 5-year window. So I appreciate your time and attention. Hopefully this was of value to you, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. Jeremy?
All right, Rick, thank you very much. As always, we've got a number of members that they do a lot of work for Ameren, and so it's good to hear what's coming up down the road. We do have one question, and I'll show it right now. And it is, can you share updates on how Ameren is accommodating growth in electric vehicles? What's their expectation for the amount of growth energy source for vehicles versus traditional fuel consumption?
I don't have the numbers right in front of me, guys, but I can tell you we partnered with about 6 other utilities to install a electric vehicle charging network from Michigan and Wisconsin down to Kansas. So along the interstates, just within this last year, and in fact, that's one of the articles in a relatively recent newsletter, Jeremy, Grandpa can't remember all the details, installed X number of charging stations. So if you have an electric vehicle and want to make a multi-state trip, it would be much easier for you to map out where the charging stations are and to be able to come and stop and charge your vehicles. We have done some stories recently. We've partnered with some businesses. The Schnucks store in Cape Girardeau just put some charging stations in, as did the brand new Courtyard by Marriott here in Jefferson City in their parking garage. So we've done some media events around those and brought local business leaders out, but we're trying to publicize where we've partnered with businesses. Well, normally what happens, Jeremy, is we give some discounts to the vendor, the store that's installing those charging stations. They set it up where they collect the fees for people to charge their vehicles. So we don't directly sell the electricity from those to them. It goes back through the business and added to their electric bill. But we've worked very well with some of these sponsoring companies. As far as the rate comparison, I think most of these quick chargers now you can charge in anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes time if you pull into some of these quick charging stations. And I think the equivalent is probably, well, I hate to say the number for sure, but it's, I don't want to say a number, Jeremy, I'll get it wrong. But it's not a whole lot more than if you were filling up your tank, especially probably at a $2 a gallon gasoline. But I can send that out to site so they have that information.
Perfect, Rick. Well, you hit the timeline perfect. So thank you again for your presentation. Just have a couple follow-up items to talk to the site members about. But Rick, thank you for your presentation. Tom from MoDOT, thank you for your presentation, guys. Great information, and we're looking forward to having you back next year. So with that, I just wanted to let everyone know that site appreciates your attendance today at our first ever virtual expo. We are celebrating 55 years this year, site is, and we want to bring everybody back together. So we are excited to let everyone know on May 12th, we are having our first in-person networking event in over a year. We're going to be at Top Golf. It's from 4:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon. We're looking at $21 per person, and it's limited to the first 100 people to register. And you can find that information on Site's website. So visit Site's website, get your staff registered. Hope to see everybody. And with that, I'd like to go into the sponsors. Again, just another thank you to Fabic for your presentation sponsorship, and to all the other Expo sponsors. Couldn't do this without you. Advanced Drainage Systems, ASP Enterprises, Bus and Quarries, Central Power Systems and Services, CMW Equipment, Energy Petroleum and Marketing, Fix Supply Service, KJ Undersall Construction, MB West Contracting, Pace Construction Company, Pat Cully Equipment Company, Purple Wave Auction, Roland Machinery Company, Rush Truck Centers of Missouri, Thomas Industrial Coatings, Traymar Contracting, 2 Alpha Contracting, and United Rentals. So thank you again to all of our sponsors. And just for those who are on the stream right now and you are going to be tuning in tomorrow, or maybe you're not, just kind of give you an update of who's jumping on tomorrow. So we have Matt Barnes with St. Louis City, talk about their road improvement projects. And this kind of theme for tomorrow is all road construction. So after Matt Barnes gives his presentation at 9:30, at 9:45, we have St. Louis County coming on to talk about their upgrades and investment infrastructure. And that's Stephanie Leon Streeter is the acting director, Joe Colessa is the acting deputy director, Matt Grunler, construction division manager. And after that, at 10:05, we have St. Charles County with Amanda Brower. She's the St. Charles County manager of roads and traffic. Following up with that would be Jason Jonas with the director of public works for Jefferson County. So with that, thank you all for tuning in. There's a little QR code if you want to see what time the other presentations are. It'll take you to Site's website. You can go to Site's website to find the presentations. You can go to YouTube. You can Google Site Improvement Association, and you will find these presentations. Again, thank you for joining us for this first time ever expo gone virtual. And we hope to continue having a good time the rest of this week. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have presentations coming. So again, thank you, and hope to see you to tune in tomorrow at 9:30. Take care.